My name is Empress Kwamine, and you are listening to High EQ Woman. Y'all, we're in a moment of time where it is crucial for us to start finding commonalities between groups. I know that we have been conditioned to believe that we're so different, whether it's having a difference in religion, different races, different nationalities, different sexual orientations. We've been taught that we can't find a common ground because we're so different. However, right now, we need to come together. And I'm not saying that everybody is going to kumbaya. That's just not going to be the case. Because in this spiritual war that we are in at this moment, a war means there are two opposing sides. Even if there are people who are unconscious about the fact that they're fighting on the other side, they're still on that side. So it's up to us to put our differences to the side and find the strengths that we all bring to the table and come together. Recently, I've been thinking about how we look different on the outside. Maybe we had different upbringings, and there's a lot of logic as to why people feel so different. And it's a lot of deconditioning that's having to happen for us to have more empathy with one another and understand each other. That work definitely needs to be done. So as long as people are willing to do it and willing to recognize that maybe they don't know everything and maybe they were not told the whole truth, then we can move forward. But if someone's so stuck in their ways, not willing to listen or understand someone else's perspective, then they're going to be stuck in whatever time they're in, stuck in whatever space they're in. And until they're ready to wake up, if they're ready to wake up, if ever, they're going to be on that opposing side. So it's not about good versus bad or good versus evil. It's more so about the intentional and conscious versus unconscious and versus those who are just unwilling to move forward to a more equitable and equal and loving space for everyone. This comes up because I just had a wonderful conversation with someone today that I just met recently. And at first glance, you'd say, okay, we have a lot in common. And if you know me, I love stimulating conversations. That really gets me, whether that's platonic, romantic, familial. Like, I want to talk about big things, forward-thinking things, advanced things. I want to talk about it all. Complex topics, absolutely. It's funny because my mother always told me that, there are some things, especially when she was growing up, that you were not supposed to be talking about in mixed company or on a date. And that includes like religion and politics and probably sex, I think was the third one. And those are all three things that I am definitely touching on. Maybe not so much about the sex early on until I really get to know you. But the religions and politics, yeah, I want to know what's going on in your mind. And it's not because I want to just like be nosy or judge you. I'm just very fascinated by how others perceive life. Anyway, recently, today, I had a conversation with someone. And in the conversation, we realized that we come from very different backgrounds of faith. He was raised as a Christian and has grown even more in his faith as a Christian. And myself, um, I don't subscribe to any particular religion. I'm a spiritual student and I'm always learning, and I take the best parts from different faiths to create my own belief system. Absolutely believe in a higher power. Absolutely believe that higher power has created me. So I'm walking around with that power within me. I believe that's in all of us. So we got to a part in the conversation when we realized, like, ooh, the things that I do, is not necessarily something that he believes in or even agrees in, but he was so respectful about it. And I with him, I would say, because the truth is, I realized that at the core of it, we were saying the same thing. We just had different expressions of it. And maybe there were different names for it. But when it came down to it, I believe this person is someone I would want to be around and trust to be around, because they have this faith that says there are going to be consequences for your actions, and to be a good person and to follow your purpose and be good to other people, which is absolutely in alignment with my faith. However, it did get to a moment where in my mind, I was a little uncomfortable. There was some discomfort because I didn't know as much as what he was speaking to me about. And so when I was speaking to him, I was looking to understand. And that's where the switch came, where I was like, I'm really actually curious what your take is on this. What do you mean? What do they mean by this in this religion? And he was asking me questions as well. And it was just such a beautiful, engaging conversation that really fed me in a way that I knew I needed, just not as much as it did. I did not expect it to feed me so much. And I say all that to say that there are ways for us to come together and work together and be in community, even if we're coming from different backgrounds. Okay? Like, we realize that in the end. So this is a time for us to come together and really listen to understand one another. And don't just go off what you've heard through the grapevine or the misconceptions and assumptions. Ask someone who is in it. Ask someone who is knowledgeable about it. And don't ask them with this wall up of judgment, like, what you going to say next? Because you already think you know what they're going to say, or you already have these preconceived notions of who that person is based off what their beliefs are. Go into it with an open mind, and an open heart. That doesn't mean that you are denouncing your faith. That does not mean that. And honestly, if you're so strong in your faith and you're grounded in it, no one can sway you, but you can also still learn something new. And you can teach something. But I didn't go into that conversation trying to convert. And I could only hope that he was not trying to do the same for me. I can just show up as myself and say, this is who I am. I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm not shy about it, but I am also going to be mindful of how I ask questions about your faith, because that is a very sensitive topic. It can be a very fragile conversation that needs to be had with care. And you have to be pretty emotionally intelligent to do so respectfully. So I really appreciate that conversation. And so I wanted to come on here and say we need to have more interactions like that. Even those on different political sides. I was watching Love is Blind the other day, and it was really cool to see how one couple navigated that conversation. One of the women it was a white woman, and she was pretty liberal, and she was asking the partner on the other side of the wall, who was another white man, what his thoughts were on Black Lives Matter, and just what happened with what happened in Minnesota. And he basically said, like, he's very apathetic. Basically, he was saying, like, he doesn't follow it, he doesn't know much about it because it doesn't really relate to him, or it's not relevant to him. And she almost wrote him off, and I almost was like, oh girl, yeah, because what? Just because it's not affecting you, you don't care about it. And there's so many people out here that are like him. Yet she was patient with him, and he realized the switch up, and he was like, I am willing to learn. And that's what we need more of. Not someone who thinks they know everything. Because the truth is, we are all here right now with just our belief to stand on. Nobody knows the truth, except everyone has their own truth. And there's so many truths out there. So a smart person would know that, hey, I don't know exactly what happens when we leave this life. I don't know exactly what's going on. All I have is my faith and my belief. And it's important to have that belief. You need to have that. I'm more cautious of someone who has no faith than someone who is very deep in their faith, because they have something to believe in. They have something to fall on. They have something to answer to. You can't just be going through life willy-nilly, just having no rules and laws, even the ones that you set for yourself, because you would just be treating people however. No care for the consequences. Although life would teach you, there is universal law for sure, but let people have their culture, and let people have their belief in their faith. As long as, if your faith is based on the degradation or oppression of certain people, then that's another conversation. And I think, you do you, but that's not my type of party. It's not. Like, if God is love, then why do you think that these people are the exception? Because of their lifestyle, because of where they live, because of what they did. Don't you believe in forgiveness? Hasn't someone forgiven you? It's just really important for us to realize how much more we have in common than our differences, because we're in a timeline at this moment that needs our unity and community. And those who have been in quote unquote power for so long is really hoping that we continue to see ourselves as so different. They're hoping that we don't come together. They're hoping that we'll continue to blame one another for the misfortunes and why someone hasn't gotten to the next level. But when we open our eyes and we see the classism happening, like how we've all been bamboozled, then we would realize we have more in common. There's way more similarities than we thought. And that is dangerous to the opposition. That's dangerous to the enemy, for us to come together and say, hey, you know what? I want to learn more about you. Tell me more about that, because I thought this about it. I've always been confused about this. And not only does that make people feel like they're heard and seen, like, oh, you want to learn more about me? You're taking the time to understand what I believe in. But you never know. And again, it's not going in to convert anyone or to even change their mind, but that can happen because you ask certain questions and that can open their minds like, you know what? I never thought about it like that. And vice versa. Same for you. To be so stuck in something that you think you know, but honey, we're students. We're always learning. We're always learning. If we're not learning and growing, what are we doing? Nothing. So be open-minded. I always say this affirmation, and please feel free to use this. It's in my journal, and words are spells, and affirmations too, in the word scramble. But this world deserves love, and so it shall be. I shine my love on this world, and it shines its love on me. With divine unions and partnerships springing alive, I welcome them with open hearts, an open mind, and in open arms. Together we thrive. And it wasn't, end quote, and it wasn't until having these conversations and having to sit there and be okay and open to learning about someone who seems different from you that I really understood that part of the affirmation. With an open mind, that's how we grow. That's how you take it to the next level. So I'm going to continue to do that. In my line of work, I interact with people from so many different places and walks of life and colors and origins. So it's very important for me to be able to connect with them. And listening is one of them, and being open to it and going into it with respect for that other person will really change the game. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to continuing to connect with other people because you learn so much about yourself. We're mirrors, reflections of one another. You don't know what you don't know. Y'all stay beautiful, stay open-minded, still keep those healthy boundaries, of course, and stay healthy and well. Thank you for listening. As always, this is Empress Kwame, and this is High EQ Woman. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.